Take a deep breath and think of a number, $1 billion. For most of us, that number is already a complete abstraction, a modern fairy tale. If you earned $10,000 every single day without missing a single day since the moment ancient Rome fell, you still wouldn't have $1 billion today. Now multiply that number by 1,000, $1 trillion. Written out, it looks less like currency and more like a glitch on a screen. A 1 followed by 12 hollow zeros. And here's the thing. For the first time in recorded human history, that number now belongs to a single living person. So the question isn't how. We can look up the stock charts. The question is something much older, much darker, and much more personal than any financial headline. Why? Why does a human brain, any human brain, keep running when it has already won everything? Let's start with what money actually is. Because most people get this wrong. For the majority of human history, wealth wasn't abstract, it was physical. It was the animal you hunted, the grain you stored, the land you controlled. You could see it, you could touch it, you could eat it when the frost came. The first known currency appeared around 3000 BCE in ancient Mesopotamia. Clay tablets recording debts and grain deposits. Not coins, not cash, just agreements. Just trust encoded in clay. What this tells us is something profound. Money was never really about objects. It was always about power over uncertainty. About the ability to say whatever comes next, I will survive it. That fear, the fear of not having enough, is one of the oldest fears the human brain carries. And it turns out no amount of money has ever been enough to make it go away. Evolutionary psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. Here's how it works. Our ancient ancestors lived in a world of brutal, unforgiving scarcity. If a prehistoric hunter found a bush full of berries in winter, their brain didn't say, save some for next week. It screamed, consume everything. Right now, because tomorrow the frost might come, tomorrow a predator might take it. The humans who survived weren't the ones who said enough. They were the ones who always wanted more. More territory, more stored food, more wood for the fire, more security against the dark. Contentment in the ancient world was a death sentence. We are the biological descendants of those people, every single one of us. This means the richest person on Earth is running on the exact same evolutionary software as someone who can't stop checking their bank account at 2 a.m., terrified they don't have enough. The hunger is identical. The scale is just incomprehensibly different. Where an ancient human wanted a larger cave, the modern trillionaire wants a base on a different planet. The mechanism is the same. The void never fills. But here's where it gets stranger. Because the truly fascinating thing about extreme wealth at this scale isn't what it buys, it's what it reveals about the psychology of power. When your personal net worth exceeds the GDP of most countries, when your single mood can move global markets in minutes, something changes in the relationship between one person and the rest of humanity. For 300,000 years, humans survived because of the collective, the tribe. We shared resources around the fire because we understood at a bone-deep level that no individual could survive the wild alone. Our strength was never in one person, it was in all of us, together. But the economic systems we built over the last few centuries have created something our ancestors never imagined possible. They've allowed the logic of the tribe, pooled resources, shared labor, collective output, to be converted into individual wealth at a scale that breaks the original equation entirely. The tribe built the machine, and the machine made it possible for one person to own more than the tribe ever could. Now here is the psychological question that actually matters. What happens to a human mind inside that position? In 2017, psychologists at the University of California, Berkeley published research on what they called the empathy gap in high-wealth individuals. As personal wealth increases, the brain's ability to read other people's emotional states, to feel what others feel, measurably decreases. Not because wealthy people are born different, but because when your daily survival no longer depends on reading the people around you, that neural pathway gets used less. And what gets used less weakens. In other words, the evolutionary skill that built human civilization, our extraordinary ability to connect, to feel with each other, to hold a tribe together, is the first thing that begins to erode at the very top. The ancient human who sat by the fire and shared their food did so partly out of genuine care, and partly out of survival calculation. If I share now, they will share with me when I have nothing. Reciprocity. The foundation of every human society ever built. At $1 trillion, that calculation disappears. There is no reciprocity needed. There is nothing another person can offer that you require. And that is a profoundly lonely place to be. There's a word that keeps appearing in studies of extreme wealth. Not happiness, not power, not freedom. Isolation. The higher the net worth, the more frequently subjects report an inability to trust new relationships. The more they describe a feeling of existing behind glass, watching the world happen to other people, unable to fully participate in the ordinary textures of human life. A bad meal, a delayed flight, a conversation where you don't know the outcome. One of the oldest recorded pieces of wisdom about wealth comes from ancient Rome, from Seneca, writing in the 1st century AD. He observed that the richest men he knew seemed to be in the most permanent state of agitation, always chasing the next acquisition, never resting, never satisfied. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor. It is the man who always wants more." He wrote that 2,000 years ago, before stock markets, before digital currency, before any of the machinery of modern wealth existed, and it is still exactly true. So here's what the world's first trillionaire actually represents. Not corruption, not conspiracy, not a simple story about one person being greedy. It is the purest, most extreme expression of what the human brain was built to do. Scaled to a number the human brain was never built to comprehend. It is 300,000 years of evolutionary survival instinct. The hunger, the hoarding, the relentless drive against scarcity, operating without limits inside a system that has no ceiling. The ancient hunter consumed every berry on the bush because tomorrow was uncertain. The trillionaire builds rockets to reach other planets because this one, eventually, will end. The fear is the same. The math is just different. And the next time you feel that familiar, low-level anxiety about not having enough, not enough money, not enough security, not enough time, understand that you are not broken. You are not failing. You are running the same program. The one that kept your ancestors alive through ice ages and famines and every dark night they ever survived. The only difference between you and the richest person on earth is not desire. It is not ambition. It is not even intelligence. It is circumstance. And that, more than any stock price or net worth figure, is the most humbling thing the world's first trillionaire reveals about what it means to be human.